Hey, you're watching the Half Asian Tarot Queen, and I'm Elisa. Just want to remind you the giveaway for July is the Mystical Shaman Oracle. It's my favorite deck. And yeah, there's only been a couple entries so far for the month, so the chances are super high of winning. Last month it was the Muse Tarot. You can check out the July monthly reading, which I'll link right here. Crossing the Bridge Over Troubled Water. And that's where I'm going to headquarter the giveaways from now on in the monthly reading. But yeah, that's the theme for the month of July. It's all about crossing the bridge over troubled water. We're moving on. It's kind of like almost like the Six of Swords, you know. We're like moving on from a bad situation to a better situation. And there's a lot going down. The readings have been super interesting. We'll say that. But I'm going to pull a couple cards from Mystical Shaman. And this is... Alright. Okay, so at the bottom we have... This is interesting because we have the serpent. So this is a card of like kundalini energy rising, you know, and it's interesting because one of the other cards we got is the spiral, which is, I mean, those two go together really well. And then we have the arrow, which this just came up in another reading, which I will point to. But this is all a card about really being in alignment with the universe, and it goes along really well with this card, Taming the Wind, which is a card about co-creation and being in alignment with the highest good. And when you are in alignment with the highest good, you know, you get all these signs and synchronicities that show you which way to go, you know. So I always liken this to like Forrest Gump, because you know, he was in alignment, you know, and people thought he was like intellectually challenged, so, you know, he would have difficulty in life, but he like always just like followed the signs, and like he was really close to his mom, and you know, even after his mom passed away, he would get this little white feather whenever he was at this turning point, and he would know, you know, and it was like a sign from his mom. And it's interesting for me too, because this card came up a lot in a reading on the week that I did, the first reading I did after my father passed away, and he had told me before he had passed, you know, I was still going to hear from him, and we talked about Forrest Gump and everything. I mean, it's so crazy how this comes together. But the arrow is a card of being in alignment with the universe. So when you are in alignment, you release your intention into the world, and it's gonna hit its mark, you know, like, because you're in alignment, you know. And then the spiral, I mean, this is a card of molting. It's like there's these cycles that happen in life, you know, and we learn like a spiritual lesson, and we ascend to the next stage of life, you know, and we molt, we like shed the old life, you know, like it's like a snake, you know, that's shedding its old skin. And we sort of graduate into the next level, or you know, we walk into this new phase of life, you know, and when we do that, we like it's like we release all this potential, because all these shackles that have been holding us back are being released, and we come into alignment with ourselves again, you know. And it's almost like that's like this kundalini energy that's rising, you know, because it's just like we've come into alignment, we've released everything that's toxic, that's been holding us back, and now all this potentiality has been released. So this is like a really positive omen, you know, for the future. And it's just like, it's a painful process, but it's a really positive omen for the future, for sure. Okay, I'm going to go to the Muse Tarot, which incidentally was the deck that was in the giveaway last month. And we're going to pull some overall energies for the reading. Yeah, the readings, it's like there's been like a lot of chaos and conflict coming through in the readings this month, but there's also been some like really beautiful, man, these cards are just like flying out. Beautiful messages coming through. Wow. Okay. All right. So yeah, this is what I was saying, you know, chaos and conflict to move through. But okay, so we have the Seven of Emotions. So this is a card in the traditional deck, you know, it's a card of confusion. There's like all these cups and you're trying to decide which one to choose. You know, like this person is sort of, they look a little tortured, you know, because it's almost like, which fish should I choose? Like, I don't know, like, you know, it's just like, it's a little tormented, you know. So that's going on. But, you know, I mean, this process of shedding, you know, shedding your old skin, I mean, it's difficult, you know. It's like, it's kind of like the Eight of Cups, where it's just like, you know, you've invested a lot into building what that is, you know, but like, you gotta let that go to like move forward, you know. So it's just sort of like, I mean, for me, for an example, like I spent all these years, like 10 years building this vegan cheese empire, and I had to let it go. There's all this family stuff going on, and I had to kind of put that first. And I've actually been hearing from a lot of people, even this morning, about like, you know, what are you doing, you know? And like people are upset, you know, upset with me for like letting it go. But it's just sort of like, what's important is still going to be with me, you know, like it's going to be reincarnated in some other fashion going forward, and the essence is going to carry forward, you know. But like you can't keep living in the past. Like, you know, it's almost like the people who are getting upset are almost like, it's almost like projecting, you know, that they don't want to let go of the past either, you know. So it's really interesting, because there's so much of the past that everyone's having to let go of right now that it's like traumatic, you know, for everyone. I mean, with this whole coronavirus thing, it's like everyone is having to go through this process, and it's painful, you know. So we got the Hangmuse, you know, so this is the Hangman in the traditional deck, and this is a person who's kind of taking a step back, you know, but they're also, this person is like doing like a high jump, you know. And so it's just sort of like, it's kind of like what we're talking about. Like, you can't take all this baggage with you. Like, it's just you. Like, if you want to make it over that wire, you know, you're going to have to make a sacrifice, because you got to like keep it nimble and light, you know, like to make it over that, you know. So it's just sort of like, I like how there's this like third eye pyramid in the background. Like, I never noticed that before. It's sort of like there's like an intuition that's guiding this, you know. So yeah, like not everyone's gonna really get like the essence that you're taking with you necessarily. Hold on. So interestingly, the next we have is the Queen of Voices. So this is the Queen of Swords in the traditional deck, and she's kind of like this ice queen. She's got these crows around her, you know, so there's this like truth, you know, and she's just like, the truth's like sitting on her shoulders, and she's cool with it, you know. But like, it might be harsh for other people, you know. They might not like it, you know. And so she can get a bad rap sometimes, because she's just telling it like it is, and not everyone can be okay with that at every moment in time, you know. So it's just like, this person is just following their own path, you know, and that means they're going to have to let some things go in the past. And not everyone is going to be happy about that, you know. I mean, that's just part of it. But she's okay with it. Like, she's cool with it. Like, she's been through it, and she's kind of at this point where she's just like, well, it doesn't bother her anymore that like not everyone's like gonna like it. Like, she's just in her own power, you know. And then we have the Nine of Materials, which, this is beautiful. Like, this is like the swinging singles card, but this is someone who's like independent and in their power, and they have like created all this abundance for themselves, and they, you know, they don't really need anybody. else, you know, like they've they've got their own game going on, you know. So it's just sort of like this person is like streamlined, you know, they've cut away the slop and they know who they are and they know what they're about and they're all right with it, you know, and they're creating their own abundance, you know. So like they've shed their skin, their arrow is going to hit the mark, you know, and now it's like their kundalini energy is rising. It's kind of beautiful how these two cards go together. So, okay, so I'm going to go to the Golden Art Nouveau Tarot to get some general energies and see if we can get a little bit more clarity about what's all going on. Because this, I mean, this is actually, it's ultimately a good thing, but it looks like a pretty painful process to go through, to be honest, you know. But, you know, I mean, growth is a painful process, you know. I mean, it's not always pretty. It's just not. Okay. Wow. Okay, we're getting a lot of pentacles coming through, so it's just like, you know, tangible outcomes that are happening in the real world, you know. This isn't like it's not like contemplation, like it's just like, you know, it's physical stuff. Okay. All right. So at the bottom we got the Eight of Cups. So again, like we've invested a lot into whatever this is that we're leaving behind, you know, and so it's hard to leave that behind, but I mean, in order to get to this, that's what's got to happen, you know. So we've got the Four of Pentacles, we've got the Knight of Pentacles, and we've got the Two of Pentacles. So this is interesting because, you know, under this card of like letting go of something, sacrificing something and leaving it in the past, we've got this Four of Pentacles, which is this card of hoarding, you know. It's just like hanging on to what you've got because you're afraid to let it go because there's not going to be anything else, you know. And like, I mean, I think there's a lot of people that are doing that right now because everyone's like freaked out of what's happening with the coronavirus, and it's just like, okay, I got to hang on to what I got, you know, because I don't know when the next thing's coming along. But it's like you're wanting to go back to the past and how it was, but the thing is, we can't, you know, like things have like forever changed, and we're not, you know, that we're never going to be able to go back to that. So it's just like, as long as we hang on to that, we're not going to make it over the wire into the, you know, into the next thing. So then we have the Knight of Pentacles. So this is like movement. Like we're not hanging on to the past anymore. We're like moving forward. And this is like the Knight of Pentacles, which this is the knight that actually is building something that will last. You know, like the other knights are all kind of fly by night. But this guy builds a stable foundation. And he does that by like cutting the cord on stuff that's not working for him anymore, you know, because he has to kind of lighten his load so he can move, you know. And then we have the Two of Pentacles, which this is a card of juggling. And it's also kind of like a card of like inner conflict a little bit. So it's just like this person is like birthing this new beginning, but it's almost like there's a little bit of an inner conflict about that. Like they're probably sad about whatever it is that they're leaving behind. Or maybe they're, you know, maybe they're really happy on one sense to be liberated and have all this abundance and all this freedom and this new beginning. But maybe there's somebody that they like miss, you know, or maybe they're kind of lonely. I mean, maybe that's what the conflict is, you know. I'm kind of getting that. But then on the next row, we have the Ten of Swords, which this is like an end of suffering, you know. So it's like we're leaving behind all this like hoarding and this suffering, you know, like that's what's getting left in the past, you know. It's just like we're not hanging on to the past anymore. We're finally ready to like let go of whatever that wasn't working, you know. And then we have the Six of Cups, you know, which this is like a deep soulmate connection, which often is from the past. So it's like maybe there's some situation from the past that we had to cut away in order to like move towards whatever this love was, you know? Maybe there was something that was like blocking it that had to be cut away, you know, because the next so interesting. We get this with Page of Cups, which is like this message of love, which is funny because I was like, this person feels liberated and happy and like they're in their abundance, but they're like conflicted, you know, and it's like maybe they're missing somebody, or, you know, they're lonely, and then we get this message of love coming in, which is, you know, related to whatever the conflict was. So that's interesting, you know, because there's this person who's like broken free, but yet there seems to be some sort of like love situation that's like complicating it a little bit. So I'm going to pull 3 more cards about how we're going to move through this moment, because, oh my gosh. Alright, this is interesting. This is an interesting story. Okay. Wow. Okay, so we've got Ace of Inspiration on the bottom. So this is a brand new, tangible beginning. It's like the Ace of Pentacles that we're moving into. So this is good. We're moving into this new beginning. We have the 9 of Voices. So this is a card of like fear and anxiety, you know, which often happens, you know, when we have big changes, but it's just like, this is getting left in the past, you know, like, this is what we're leaving behind. And then we have the Knight of Voices, which this is like the Knight of Swords. So this is a fast-acting message of truth or clarity that's coming in, you know. So it's like this Queen of Swords is like cutting away all this stuff with this message of truth. And this is like freeing up this movement, like tangible movement towards maybe this love, you know, but we're going to have to cut that away with some sort of maybe harsh message of truth that not everyone's going to like, you know, that's going to leave some things in the past, but that's leading to death. Like, this is a transformation, and it's beautiful because it's just sort of like this person, and there's this cocoon, but there's this moth or this butterfly that's breaking out of it and to this new version of themselves. And it's like a Polaroid in development. Like, it's not fully articulated yet, you know. So yeah, it's like this person's like been liberated from something, you know, but there's a little bit of an inner conflict that looks like it has something to do with some sort of love situation that hasn't fully articulated itself. So, the plot thickens. So this is interesting because, yeah, there have been all these messages about this dynasty being built, you know, and this person like coming into like abundance, you know, but like maybe that's on the way to, it's not all the way developed. Like, maybe there's some sort of love issue that's gonna like resolve itself or come online from cutting away all the stuff from the past and freeing up all of the space for this new something. Oh my gosh. So this came up in a reading a couple days ago, alone time. So it's like there's a lot of confusion that's happening right now. And it seems like this, you know, if you want to get some clarity on whatever this is, it might be a good moment to spend some time on your own, like just being on your own and not being influenced by like other people and other agendas, because this is a moment to just get real clear on where you want to go and not be distracted by the pull of, you know, other people's agendas, you know, because we're moving towards this new world order. So yeah, spend some time, take some time for yourself, you know, and take good care of you, and we'll check back soon.